everybody, and welcome to Storm Reads. And I have noticed that I've gotten some new subscribers, so I'd like to say welcome to the channel. I hope you like it. I hope you stick around. And don't forget, you can always chat down in the comments and let me know things if you've ever read any of these books that I talk about. A lot of times I forget to say stuff like that, chat in the comments. But yeah, I always like to read comments, so don't be afraid, leave a comment. And so this is my April wrap-up, and in April I managed to read 17 books. Some of those were audiobooks, and the most read genre that I had was mystery, because that seems to be the thing that I am super into lately. And I did do a mid-month wrap-up, and so I will put a card up here, or I'll put it down in the comments section, or the description section, or whatever, so that you can go check that out. Because I don't want to rehash it or anything, but I will mention what I did read. I read Every Last Fear by Alex Finley, and I gave it 4 stars. Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo, and I gave it 3 stars. Near the Bone by Christina Henry, and I gave it 1 star. Murder on Waverly Place by Victoria Thompson, and I gave it 4 stars. And Killer Queen by Julie Mulhern, I gave it 4 stars. And if you would like to know any more of my thoughts on that, like I said, you can go ahead and check that video out. I also had another wrap-up video for the month of April, because I did Amish in April, and for that I read 3 books, and I went ahead and did a separate wrap-up for that, so I will put it up here. But I read Shunned and Dangerous and Suspended Sentence by Laura Bradford. Gave both of those 4 stars. That's book number 3 and book number 4 in the Amish Mystery series. Then I read the first Amish Candy Shop mystery, which was Assaulted Caramel by Amanda Flower, and I gave it 4 stars as well. And so that's the ones that I've actually already talked to you about in a separate video, and so I will move on to the ones that I haven't talked about yet. And yes, I have written me out some notes, so if you see me looking over here, that would be why, because I'm trying to not ramble as much. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. Anyway, other books that I read in April was Late Checkout by Carol J. Perry, and I listened to this on audiobook. I gave it 4 stars. It's about a man who dies in the stacks at our aunt's library. And so Lee starts to sleuth, and she seems he used to be pretty famous. He was a baseball player, but then he had gambling problems, and he kind of got kicked out of baseball. And then he also worked at different things he did, like he dressed up as costumes or whatever, and had different programs where Lee works at the news station that she works for. And so it seems like he wasn't very well liked. So Lee's got her... So Lee has her work cut out for her to try to figure out who it was that wanted this man dead. And then I listened to Big Little Spies by Krista Davis. I gave it 4 stars. The ladies from the Wagtail Animal Guardians are having their annual charity ball, and it's got Holly busy at her, she's got a pet-friendly hotel. And while she's there, she finds out that one of the prominent judges in her town's dog's gone missing, and she kind of goes to check on things there and finds out that he has hired a pet detective. And lo and behold, that pet detective ends up dying, and she's got to figure out what happened and why. And she's hoping that it doesn't have anything to do with the judge, because she likes the judge. But it could be somebody that is a guest at her hotel. And then the next one is The Haunted Forest Tour by Jeff Strand and James Moore. I gave this one 4 stars. It was just a fun romp and chomp type thing. Think about Jurassic Park, but in a forest with creatures of all kinds and varieties. There were things described that I've never even heard of. I mean, it's just a monster creature. And they take a tram through there, and they're showing people all the monsters, and of course something happens to the tram and they can't get out, and so of course they're going to all descend on them trams, and they're going to have to try to survive the monsters. So yeah, it was kind of fun. Cheesy at some points, over the top sometimes, but it was just good fun, and for what it was worth, I liked it and gave it 4 stars. Then I read Pride and Prejudice by Tirza Price, and I gave that one 4 stars, and that was just a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. It's set in still set in a historical setting, but they're lawyers, or budding lawyers, I guess you could say, and it's a whodunit. Elizabeth Bennet wants to be a lawyer. Her father's a lawyer. And, of course, Mr. Collins is a lawyer in the law firm, and he's the one that's going to be taking the law firm over because he is the male heir. And he's kind of cocky and snotty, and she doesn't like him, and he takes credit for things that she does. And she's going to prove that she has what it takes to become a lawyer and everything. And so she finds out that this guy, Mr. Bingley, has been accused of murdering his brother-in-law, and she is going to prove that he didn't do it so that she can show her father that she deserves to have a place in his law firm. And it was cute. She has to butt heads with another lawyer from another firm called, of course, Darcy. So it was cute. And then I read You'll Thank Me for This by Nina Segel. I think that's how you say it. And I gave this one 3 stars. It's based on a Dutch tradition where they drop off their preteens and teens out in the woods, and they have to make their way to camp on their own. They're always put them in groups, and so it should be pretty easy. And normally nothing goes wrong, but of course something goes horribly wrong at this one. You have a timeline of her mother and her discovering things about the man she is currently married to, which would be the girl's stepdad, which I can't remember her name. But anyway, the main character's stepdad. And it was very confusing at first because you have no idea why it's going back to her being by herself and snooping around her husband's things, and then the things that she finds, you don't understand what it has to do with the daughter that's out in the woods, and you don't really figure that out until really close to the end. So it's like one of those that, it's confusing, but if you stick with it, you will figure it out. But I don't know, it was still just, it was just okay. It was 3 stars. Then I buddy read Needful Things by Stephen King with my friend Barb, and we've decided that we've had enough rereads of King for a while, because although we may have absolutely loved King's older stuff when we were teenagers, they're just a little dry and boring these days. I gave it 3 stars. Back in the day when I was a teenager, I gave it 5 stars. But yeah, it's a pretty big chunker. I felt bad for her because her version of it or whatever had like 800 and some pages, and mine was only 600 and something. But yeah, that one took us a little bit to read. But I liked it. I don't know if you know, most people know what Stephen King's books are about, but Needful Things is about Leland Gaunt, who opens up a store in Castle Rock. And in this store, you can get anything that you want, whatever your heart's desire is, but it comes with a price. Not a money price. You have to play a prank on whoever he wants you to, and in doing so, it pits the town against each other. Even though, say, like, Brian, the teenager, he's the one that threw mud on this one lady's clothes outside. She thinks it's this other lady, and so they fight and things. So yeah, it pits the town against each other, and the sheriff has to try to figure out what's going on and stop him. So it's just very long-winded. Could have been cut down a lot. And then I read Mouse Watch Underwater by J.J. Gilbert. This is number 2 in the Mouse Watch series, and I give this 4 stars. It's really cute. It's about Bernie and Jarvis, and in the first one they were new recruits, and they kind of got thrown into things, and now they are level 1 recruits because they've finish their training. And Bernie's kind of upset because they had to rescue a cat out of a tree. She doesn't think that's Mousewatch material. She wants to do something fun and exciting. And anyway, she doesn't like cats because, of course, cats are not friendly to mice. Jarvis is a rat, and he likes cats, and he thought it was cute that they were rescuing the kitten. But anyway, they are taken to a place where they're supposed to kind of hang out and everything, because their training that they were going to do kind of got put on hold because London's Mousewatch got attacked, and they had, so all the recruits were going there, but since they're still level 1, they had to stay behind. But when they stay behind, they get a transmission about an underwater submarine called the SS Moon that's been missing for like 50 years, and it has some important tech on board. So they're the only Mousewatch agents left, and so they, of course, have to go on this mission to try to figure it all out, where there is a Catlantis under the water, so they get involved with a bunch of water-faring kittens and cats. So that was funny, because Bernie was not very pleased with that, because she doesn't like cats. I think it's a cute story, except for it aggravated me sometimes because Bernie, she's not really a team player. She's used to being on her own, trying to figure things out. So sometimes she likes to try to do things on her own when she needs to rely on her teammate, Jarvis. And so sometimes that was a little aggravating, because I was just like, she needs to quit being so prideful and just, you know, learn that sometimes she can't do things all on her own. She's starting to learn that, especially closer to the end, but sometimes that was just a little frustrating. But overall, it was cute. I liked it. Then the next one was an audio that I listened to called Pride, Prejudice, and Poison by Elizabeth Blake. And this is about the president of Jane Austen Society is murdered, and then Erin, one of the members, has decided that she's going to try to figure it out. I listened to it, and the narrator was okay. Justine, I think it's Justine. Anyway, she's got a decent voice, but sometimes her accent is a little hard for me. But also, I think one of the things that drove me crazy the most about the story is there's a lot of quotes, Jane Austen quotes. Now, I love Jane Austen. Jane Austen's one of my favorite authors to read. I can reread them all. I love to read her books, but even I thought it was a little over the top with all the quotes of Jane Austen. It seems like that's the only thing that these people from this society can do is quote Jane Austen. So if you're not real familiar with Jane Austen, then you might be like, you know, who cares? Also, another thing that, especially if you've never read Jane Austen, it might be hard for you to understand when they reference somebody as being a character in an Austen book. So, like, there's this one guy, Jonathan, that everybody likes. They think he is just so sweet and so friendly, and they think of him as a Bingley. He's a Mr. Bingley. Well, if you don't know who Mr. Bingley is, you're not going to have a clue why they're even calling him that. There's a priest or something like that, and they call him, what was it? Mr. Elliot, I think was the priest or whatever in Pride and Prejudice. Anyway, you know, and they call him these different things, and so if you don't know that already, you'll be like, why are they calling them things? And so it was just, I don't know, a little too much Austen, maybe. I didn't think you could get too much Austen, but maybe you can. And so, yeah, so I thought it was okay. I give it 3 stars. I will try the second book when it comes out, but, you know, it's not high priority. And then I listened to Angel Falls by Colleen Helm, and this is the last book that I have for the month, and it's a spin-off from the Shelby Nichols series. So if you've not read the Shelby Nichols series, you wouldn't have a clue about this book, but in the last Shelby book that has come out, hopefully it's not the last, but it's this last one that's come out, you meet this nurse, and her name was Ella, and Shelby knew right away that she had some kind of some power of some sort and everything, and so you kind of get you curious enough. So whenever the author asked me if I would like to try her new spin-off series that she has for Ella, I was really excited because I wanted to try it out, and I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. Ella has healing power in her hands, and she doesn't really know why. She's adopted. Her father is an actual father. He's a priest or whatever, and he's not supposed to have a child, but and you find out why he does later on in the book. And she does something in the Shelby book, and the thing that she did there is she refused to heal a guy because he was a criminal and he was a killer, and she just couldn't do it, and it gets her in trouble. And so the people that know she has this like healing touch and things, they decided that maybe she needs a break to reflect on things. So he sends her to this small town, and while she's in this small town working in a small town clinic, she accidentally hits this guy Creed, and so she takes him to the clinic where she kind of works on him a little bit and gets him healed up. And it seems that he is running from something, and because they're there at the same time, she gets wrapped up in this whole thing that he's involved in. It makes her wonder sometimes why she tried to help him in the first place. But we find out that there is a reason for everything, and it was cute. I liked it. It was a little insta-lovey, to be honest. She really took to this guy Creed like really quick, and I'm never big for insta-love, but it did feel kind of insta-lovey. But then towards the end, you get some explanations about some things, so it kind of makes sense that there was a little insta-lovey. But still, I'm not a big fan of insta-love. But I still gave it 4 stars because I did like it. Do you need to read the Shelby Nichols series to read this one? Probably not. But should you? Yes, you should. Because it's one of my favorite series. So you should. Okay, so that's everything that I have read in April. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.